from the lavatory. Welcome to the Close Traffic Podcast, an aviation and flight simulation show. Welcome aboard.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Close Traffic Podcast. So we are here. I know it's been, pretty much about a month, right, Charlie?
Yeah, it's been a while, man.
It's been a while. We've been busy, but we're back with you nonetheless for another episode, a very special episode this time around. We've got two returning guests to the podcast, two very special guests who have really just blazed their way through their aviation careers to arrive at where they're at today. And we wanted to take some time to invite these two guys on to really give us some insights and to provide those of you that are on this journey or are thinking about going down this journey some tips, some suggestions, some recommendations, some watch outs, some gotchas that they can share certainly as they've been along their journey. Not only that, both of them also share in the hobby of flight simming, so I think that's also a plus. And we'll definitely get into how flight simming has helped sort of help them on their endeavor and their path forward towards professional aviation. But without further ado, man, we'll introduce Fabian and Phillip. You guys, welcome back to the show, man. How you guys been?
Good. Thanks for having us back.
Cool.
Yeah, doing good. You know, we might have to change it to Fabian 1 and Fabian A.
Welcome back, Fabian Squares, to the Close Traffic Podcast. Yeah, no, we just recently found out Phillip also is Fabian, so I think that's pretty cool.
That is too cool.
We'll have to update this to say Fabian Square. Oh man, fellas, it's been quite some time since we've had both of you on, really. But you all have certainly taken off as it relates to your journeys throughout professional aviation. Like I said, definitely want to spend some time digging into your backgrounds. Again, you guys have been on before. You kind of shared that before, but obviously we've got new listeners and a new audience base as well since the last time you guys have been on. So I don't think it hurts too much to kind of rehash some of that. But Fabian, man, maybe we'll start with you. Take us through sort of how you got into aviation, you sort of what led you down that path, what made you realize that this is something you wanted to do for a living, and then spun off into other aspects of aviation, right? Not just the pilot side, but all the other freaking certificates that you've managed to acquire.
I was going to ask Fabian 1 or Fabian 2 for this one.
No, that's a good point. I'm sorry, man.
He just knows me as Phil.
That's true. So we'll just Fabian. How about that? Just Fabian.
Okay.
Fabian squared. But yeah, man, take us through that journey.
No, so it was, to put it, I don't know if you want me to do like in a nutshell type of thing.
Yeah, nutshell's fine.
But yeah, in a nutshell, basically took my first discovery flight when I was 16. From that point forward, I knew this is where I belong, type of thing, and that's where the kid's dream was born. From there, I did a couple flights, then decided, well, this is a little too expensive for somebody who's working at Starbucks after school in high school. So put it off a little bit, then went to college for it. So Part 141 school, probably people know, Lewis University. Went there, did my 4 years. Got my pilot certs, got a couple of other certs, as you mentioned, on the side, an A&P, dispatcher, CFI. That's one of the pilot ones, but anything you can name, everything but ATC in the short.
Gotcha.
Then continued onward, getting my hours as a CFI, and recently started a job at Air Wisconsin as a FO.
Nice. Awesome, man. Awesome. Again, that's a 30,000 foot journey. We'll dig into some of those details here in a moment, but that's awesome. Fabian squared or Phil, man. Take us through your journey, man.
Well, I went, I couldn't say the unconventional, but I went, I think, more of the older school way. My dad got into flying back in the 90s, and I even started flight simming back then. I think it was like what flight simulator. I think it was like 3.1 is what
Wow.
it was back in the
Wow.
day. I remember everything was cubes and all that stuff and playing around with that. My yoke was like PVC and the whole deal. And then just like most, it wasn't until I got a little older that, was working and able to finally afford to go to I paid for my private out of pocket. And then once I finished my private, I was just like, this was my job. This is what I wanted to do. So I came in credit private, went to ATP, did all my stuff, instrument, commercial, multi, CFI, CFII. I worked as a flight instructor for just like less than a year.
Okay.
Started my first job right seat in the PC-12, flying for a 135. Then went left seat in a caravan flying cargo. That's why I met you guys.
That's right. That's right.
A little over a year or so ago, almost 2 years.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's been a
definitely
while.
almost 2 years because
Yeah.
you're right here in my backyard flying out of Ontario.
Exactly.
Yep.
Which is funny because I end up flying out of Ontario even more now. But yeah, so was flying caravans. Kind of got caught up with the whole flow. I was supposed to go to the regionals, ended up back flying PC-12. I was flying for Surf for a bit. As a captain, flew the Saab 340 for Southern out in Honolulu for a bit. Right now I'm flying the 7576 for ATI. Most notably, they subcontract through military, DHL, but most of us know us as we fly Prime Air.
Prime Air, yeah.
So, yeah. So yeah, I've flown in and out of Ontario a bunch of times, San
Countless
Bernardino a
times.
bunch of times. Yeah,
Yep.
it's kind of crazy when you think
That's
about
you
it.
going over my head every night, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. So definitely, I think, you guys have both sort of alluded to, right? It's a journey, right? You both have the passion for it. You kind of said, okay, this is what I want to do. Let me go pursue it and then work through all of the different avenues leading up to essentially where you are today. And, eventually where you guys want to get to beyond that. I think it's pretty cool. I guess, Fabian, what would you say the most difficult part of your journey was as you sort of progressed through that, Part 41, CFI, the additional certs that you've done, and then now right seat at Wisconsin?
Biggest difficulty would be Chicago weather. You would
Okay.
think it's
That's a
if
great.
I could, I would do it in a much warmer place where it's more consistent, like Texas or even Florida, like Embry-Riddle or Prescott,
Right.
Daytona. Even though they have their thunderstorms in the afternoon, but it's better than not flying for November, December, January because weather's either too cold and you're going to get ice, or
Right.
it's just too cold for the airplane to operate for the 141 requirements or whatever the school makes up with the rules.
Yeah.
But it's that tied in with also just finances behind it all. I didn't have a tremendous amount of money handed my way. I knew a few friends that had a little bit of a backing from their parents. I did not,
Of course.
however.
Yep.
Scholarships from the school, from EAA, from all these organizations, applying every year, trying to get as much money cooped up to help go through the journey as quick as and financially painlessly as possible.
Yep. It's like I've always like that's one of those things where it's like you're between a rock and a hard place, right? Because you go through the journey and you've got to get through the journey as quick as possible because you theoretically spend the least amount of money as possible, right? Because it's less time between flights. You're able to, retain the information more, right? The quicker you go through it, the better. But then you need all that money up front. then it's like, all right, well, then I'll take my time and save up and pay as I go. But then you're repeating lessons because it's been so long between flights, right? It's one of those things where you like, between a rock and a hard place. I've always found that the most difficult part about obtaining these ratings and these certificates. But yeah, the weather is a big one that I've heard all the time. I'm lucky to be in SoCal, Phil as well, able to get through these trainings. Although the last freaking year, man, we've had some interesting weather for SoCal, especially for the winter. I know a lot of buddies that are out still trying to get their ratings and whatnot and haven't been able to fly for a couple of weeks, especially when you're working full time and the weekends is your only availability. It's probably the third weekend in a row we've had, weather like this. So, but yeah, generally speaking, it's nicer here in SoCal or Florida. So the weather is a big blocker there too. Phil, what about you, man? What was your biggest hurdles, you would say?
Money was definitely one. I think if I could go back again, I didn't realize until literally after I was pretty much done that there were a lot of grant opportunities that I should have spent more time trying to get. So I guess if I could go back, do it again, I definitely would have tried to, even if I would have hired somebody to, write my grants, that probably would have saved me a good amount of money. I'm still paying for it now. I just recently moved a bunch of my stuff over from Sally Mae, and that helps a lot.
Right. Yep.
Yes.
Sally,
she'll get you every time, bro.
Every time. Yeah. I mean,
she's still getting me.
like literally, I kind of like when I got out, it was kind of like right in the middle of COVID when I finished my CFI. So nobody was hiring. And so it was kind of a gut punch because it was like, when I went through the program, they're like, yeah, don't worry. You're going to finish your CFI. We're going to hire you. You're going to work for us. Your job's guaranteed. And then you're going to flow into a regional. And then as soon as COVID hit, all of that went away.
Wow.
Right. It was no, we're no longer guaranteeing jobs. We're no longer guaranteeing this. Everybody's cutting back. And so it was literally like, once that we had like the 6-month forbearance, once that 6 months was over, I was getting hit for like almost like $1,000 a month.
Wow.
Just for Sally Mae. And luckily, through friends and loved ones, I was able to move that stuff over to a credit union, and that literally knocked it down to like $600 a month. So I was like, okay, that helped.
Huge.
That's been helping a lot.
Yeah.
That helps a lot. But as I did more research, I started finding out, there were smaller grants, grants for like 5,000 here, 2,000 there, and I was like, yeah, maybe if I spent a little more time doing a little more research, maybe I could have, been lucky to grab one or two of those grants. Even if I didn't get it, it's nice to, try and
put
see
your
what
name
you can
in the
get.
hat,
Yeah, exactly. But as far as when training and stuff like that, that was probably one of the hardest parts was making sure that even after you finished going through the program where you had the money, it was like you're going to be paying these guys off for forever, it seems like. But other than that, once I was done with CFI and I started working, honestly, the 135 life can be rough. The 135 life can be very rough. I think what's such an interesting contrast is, with this company, they had a lot of senior guys that are like, due to loss of a lot of pilots to other majors and to legacies and stuff like that. And, fighting over contracts and more pay, they're like, we're working more. The company's using this like optimization to try and get the schedules for pilots to fly more. And they're like, yeah, we've got runs where we're doing like 2-3 legs a day. And I'm like, geez, a 135, I was doing like 6 to 8 legs a day.
Yep.
It's long days.
Days, man. And
I was gonna say, I always tell them the joke is, where the foreman, the worker is like, I thought you said we were working half day, and he's like, 12 hours is half a day.
Straight up. It's an area that people don't like really recognize. Like the grind up front is real. Like your passion for aviation, I think can quickly become sort of demeaned or skewed by the amount of flying and sort of like feeling of I'm going to work, right? When you first start off flying, you know, that 135 life, or probably even to a degree, I'd imagine, even at the regionals. It's a grind. Did you ever feel like, you know, flying those 6 to 8 legs a day? Did you ever feel at times like, you know, man, I'm not enjoying flying anymore. This is sort of turned more into like a job or a duty or something that I'm just doing versus like, you know, generally when I'm up there, I'm taking in the sights. I'm this feeling of being able to fly and soar and all the reasons why I fell in love with aviation to begin with sort of is out the window. Did you ever feel that way?
You know, what's funny is, the last gig I was at, I was flying out of Honolulu.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people are like, dude, you're living the dream. You get to fly around the Hawaiian Islands. It's beautiful. You're literally in paradise. And I was like, brah, this is the worst I've ever had it. I was like, I literally told people, I was like, if you don't love flying, we're doing at some of these companies, it's probably the worst job I ever had. And I'm like, one of the first thing that made it really rough was, we were on average working between 10 to 12 hours a day. And because none of us were based in Hawaii, we stayed in Hawaii at like this crappy little hotel. And so in order to maximize the amount of work we could do, I was scheduled for like 17 days straight, no days off, no standby. And I would be out there for 17 days, and then I would have anywhere from 7 to 10 days off and then go straight back out to Hawaii. And so we were doing like anywhere from 4 to 8 legs a day. What sucked is our average flight was only just like about 30, 40 minutes, right? So there were times where literally we would get there at like 4 a.m, fly one leg, and then sit at an outstation for like an hour and a half after a 30-minute flight, fly back, sit for an hour and a half, fly back, sit for an hour and a half, and then you were just like, bruh, it was like, I just want this day to be over. I literally had one of my coworkers. He was like, dude, he was like, this is the most miserable I've ever been in my life. He was like, my family's not here. No one's out here. It's expensive. And then we were out there during the summer when it was like freaking 90 degrees. It would take the plane like 30 minutes to cool down for our 20-minute flight.
Oh man,
it does get better, once, this company is a major company. And the first thing that just blew my mind was there were so many days where literally I would fly for like 3 hours and be done for like 2 days, 3 days. Like literally, like my first flight was from like JFK to Rockford. And that was literally like a 2.5 hour flight. And then I remember my captain just being like, so I'll see you in like a day and a half. And I'm like, what do you mean? And
That's it?
Like, that's it. And I was like, what? And he was like, dude, it used to be even better. He's like, this used to be like a flying club. Like you would have thought we were flying for fun. We flew so little. And I'm like, what?
Wow.
So it gets better. Gets better. But there were definitely those days where you were just like, you felt drained. After like a week, I used to tell my manager, I was just like, dude, I can't be doing 10, 12 days of just like freaking 12-hour days.
12-hour days of flying.
And that's rough on any type of work.
It doesn't matter what it is, especially flying airplanes, man. Jeez. That's crazy. Man, it's again, like a lot of people think, you go into it and it's like the headline or the glamour shots of like, you're flying wide bodies to Europe for Delta, working 10 days a month, making $300K plus a year, and you're living a dream. But it's like eventually you get there, but the work in between that, man, it's a grind. It's a grind. Fabian, you were a CFI for how
long? Cumulatively about a year and a half.
What was that like? Because I also hear that's the other side, right? So Phil, you did CFI for a little bit, but most of your time building was through 135 and some of the other operations you flew for. Fabian, I'd imagine most of your time building was through being a flight instructor.
Yep.
And that's the other side of the grind that I hear. It's like, Unless you enjoy it, man, it is a grind. You got people trying to kill you every day. So what was that like for you?
Yeah. So obviously, you know, my background, I don't go the easy way. So I took the hard way always. It would start off with, all right, I wanted to get to the airlines as soon as possible. That was my all be all goal at the end. So to do that, I just had to maximize all the flight time on every good day. And that included flight team from Lewis. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday mornings, I would get up at like 3:34 to drive from my house down to Lewis, which is about an hour away, to be there at 5 to start flying, doing like our practice landings for competitions for nationals.
Okay.
Then our blocks would start around 7. And then from 7 till, I don't know, just around 5 p.m., I would be flying. And it's not a continuous. It would be like you would have a half-hour break here, 20-minute break here, just enough to go use the bathroom and hop out with the next student type of thing.
Jeez.
And it would involve a lot of eating in the airplane because you had no time to eat. And then that's just a rinse and repeat. And then I would have my master's classes at night from 6 to 10.
Oh, wow.
Teacher would usually let us out early around 9:30, but still 6 to 9. So I would have been up for that day since
12 plus hours.
Yeah.
13 plus hours. Yeah.
And then repeat the next day type of thing.
Dude.
But it allowed me to get my hours really quickly. I was averaging around 50 to 70 hours a month, which for at Lewis, that was pretty good. And we've had our issues with airplanes coming out, COVID with the steel out of China, where our airplane engines from Lycoming were going down because they needed overhauls. So we didn't have the engines. So the Cessna started dropping. But our multis, since those take a little less time to get that cert, I got my MEI, so I was able to do that. So my days mostly were maybe one flight in this 172 and 3 flights in a multi.
Nice. Interesting.
So, and that's where I got most of the time. And still, it's like a private pilot flying. No matter the experience, when they first step into a multi, they try to kill you. You got 2 engines, you got gear, you got you got the prop, and
there's a lot going on, man.
I had 5 students, and they're dragging behind the airplane. That's how far back behind the plane they are, type of thing. Whereas my LCA from OE at Air Wisconsin said, "Yeah, you're in the bathroom, and I'm here in the cockpit. That's how far behind the plane you are."
Wow.
But it was, looking back on it, it's always about the end goal, the dream, where you're gonna be, but it's also about the journey. It's a fun journey to have, a fun journey to tell and share with others, and give my insight of what I would do differently and what I would recommend and whatnot.
Gotcha. And too, there you guys alluded to different, right? So Fabian, for you, mostly choice of locale as it relates to getting your certificates and hours. Phillip, applying for more grants to help ease sort of the financial burden associated with that. But I didn't hear anything from you guys what I would do differently, not go into this field. So obviously your passion and your love for aviation
it's still
supersedes all of that.
For sure, I tell people, I said, it's like riding a motorcycle, I may lay it down. I may have crap days where I get soaked, but the first week I had a motorcycle, I laid it down and sprayed my ankle, and my dad was like, "You done with that?" And I was like, "Oh, don't get it twisted. I love this. I'll do it every day." It's like, once I heal, I'm getting right back on that thing.
Doing it again.
Yeah. I mean, it's so funny because like one of the first things I used to tell my friends was I was just like, when I first started working as a CFI, I think I was making like 25 grand a year was the expectations. And I was like, look, one day we're going to look back and we're going to joke about how dudes are like, they're paying only 200 grand a year. It's chump change, man. Get that out of here. Get that out of here.
Yep. It's true though, man. You guys put the work in, you put the grind in, and it's like you can eventually set your own parameters, set your own. This is what I come with. These are my skills. These are here's my experience, and here's what I'm commanding. So it's like that pretty much with any field, right? You put the work and you put the grind in. You start from the very bottom, more or less, and again, you just continue to push through and overcome those difficulties. You learn as you go, as you move into the next sort of phase of what that journey looks like. You apply those learnings, and I get it, man. I totally get it. As a as someone that does it recreationally, I obviously don't have those challenges, but I could see it. I can certainly see. Like I recently just did a flight to San Jose, and like Fabian, I'm hearing you talk about you getting up at 4 a.m. every day. I had to get up early because I had to make it for a meeting. So Van Nuys is an hour away from here, and I'm like, damn, man, I had to get up at 5:45, go on the plane and fly. I was whining. I know I didn't say anything before because Charlie loves to make fun of me about that.
Yeah,
Johnny too.
5 o'clock,
And
man.
I
I
was
done
like,
had
oh,
breakfast, the animals
man.
fed, half a day's over
Dude.
at 5 a.m.
And then you had to
I
take
dream. I dream of those days, bro. You fly cargo. That's the end of our day. Like 5 a.m. We're like trying to go get the morning breakfast so we can get the free breakfast so we can go to sleep.
Man.
See, man, and again, it goes back to it's all about perspective. And at the end of the day, but whatever it is that you love, you make those sacrifices and you just get it done. Get it. I totally get it. So you both, to a degree, obviously, you've mentioned it earlier, have come up with flight sim, right? You've come up through the years with flight sim, and Fabian, I know you actually did that for a living for a while, right? And teach at an actual a flight simulator organization. And then
was it Vadstar?
No.
Was it Vadstar?
Where is Vadstar? What is Vadstar?
Vadstar is like what was it? They're a teaching organization that works closely with VATSIM, and so they have
Vadstar, yeah, gotcha. Yeah. No, this was a physical location where like 737s, F-18s, those simulators. Yeah. And then Philip, I know to this day you still fly flights in 2020. I see your posts all the time. So understanding sort of, where flight sim is today, where it came from, etc. There's usually two schools of thoughts, right? Or you've got two camps. One where they say flight sim really doesn't help you too much in the actual real world aviation journey, and at times it can hurt you, especially for those actually going out to get your private instrument. It's probably a little bit more there's more commonality there, and can certainly help shed some time towards that certificate or towards that rating. But holistically, there are people that feel like flight simming overall hurts those that are actually going out to get an actual rating and actually pursuing flying in the real world. What's your perspective on that, Phil?
Well, for me, I'd have to say, when it comes to certain things, I think private, it helps to a certain degree. And the problem is, unlike being in an airplane where you're being supervised by a CFI who's giving you practices, one of the issues is, just like with any sort of talent, if you don't have the fundamentals, you could be practicing bad habits, right? I've seen plenty of students and even other pilots who, they're skipping over stuff, they're doing stuff incorrectly, and they're just like, well, it worked this way, I don't know why it's not working this way. I personally, when I do my simming, just by taking a few lessons and doing ground school, it brought my level of simming up to another level that I couldn't even dream of. I didn't understand, like going from like flying turboprops to a jet. The first thing that was really big that I've been utilizing in all my simming is it's really scheduling, right? Scheduling as in slowing the plane down. You're in a big plane, you learn, you can't slow down and get down. So
And go
scheduling
down.
is key.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And so when I think of how many times, start just jumping into, a 7.6 or jumping into, a 7.3 in the sim, in which people are just like, dude, I can't get this damn thing. I'm always slamming it down or coming in fast or I'm just throwing in flaps, not even thinking about flap speeds and going nuts. It's in the sim, who cares?
Right.
Once you get into the heavy duty level D's at down in Denver or something, and you're doing it in the plane, and they're like, dude, you can't just jerk it off the ground. You just tail strike the whole freaking plane. You can't, do certain things. And, you got to think more about, okay, when does this need to happen? How does this need to happen? And so you start to think a little bit more about what would really affect the plane and affect my real life. And when would I actually do it? Where like in the private phase, I always tell people, I said, if you're going to sim in private phase, I like to tell people, do it with your checklist and get that checklist done and just really focus on when things should do. Like you're in a 172, you're beam the numbers, boom, you start pulling that power, you start throwing in that flaps.
Yeah.
If you're just flying around willy-nilly and being silly, you're not really learning
You're
anything.
Help you much. You're not learning much.
I'd say IFR is where I really locked it in. Once I started doing IFR and locking it in, when I first got to my first deal, my first interview, at the 135, the guy was just like, dude, he was like, you rocked the IFR portion. And I was like, really? I didn't think it was that hard. And he was like, you'd be surprised how many people come in and they'll be like, I got like a couple 100 hours flying with my buddies and never fly IFR.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh shit. And it's like, never even think about it that way. Yeah.
No, that's critical. I was surprised too to learn, and even some of the people that I fly around with, like they get their certificate and they really exercise. And again, we're in SoCal, so beyond the weather we've been having, you typically don't get to utilize that IFR much. But if you want to stay current, that's when you utilize the sim, right? To ensure that you're keeping those skills fresh and you're able to really lock in when it is actually time to do some IFR flying. But many people just don't. Many people just aren't current. And to your point, the sim helps tremendously. As long as you're exercising sort of the application of the checklist and staying ahead of the aircraft and knowing when to do things. I think the other portion of that too is the ability to utilize air traffic control services virtually, right? So with Pilot Edge and VATSIM, I think that's huge. There are, even at the private pilot phase, like one of the things I never struggled with was radio calls. And that's because I was doing VATSIM years before I even went for a discovery flight. So, I mean, that stuff definitely helps. But again, if you're utilizing it properly. Fabian, how about you, man? Like, how much has Flight Sim helped you in your journey, and what do you think are the pros and cons with it?
I agree with Fabian squared. There's a definitive line to where it becomes deconstructive, whereas it's in some other aspects it can be constructive. Personally, during the point where I stopped flying, so I put in my 2 weeks in, resigned at Lewis, and to the point where I was going through in-dock and systems at Air Wisconsin, I wasn't flying much outside maybe a flight here and here in the Archer that I fly. But outside that, there's no real practical use of, like you said, the IFR system and using it to its full capabilities. That's where I picked up VATSIM in MFS 2020 and flying the 7.3 out of there because I bought the PMDG 7.3. And yeah, it was
Charlie's favorite folks. That's an insider, man. We'll have to tell you that one off air.
It definitely
Hear
helped.
my dissertation.
Whole book about it, whole novel.
That's funny.
But it helped talking with ATC, going from center to center, and then just how one for one it relates when I went into the plane for the first time, and just it's weird when you're balancing now 3 different frequencies at once instead of just listening to one in VATSIM. But here now it's like you're balancing, as Phil, you probably know, I don't know if you flew into O'Hare, you got metering on one frequency, you got ground on the other, you've got ops on the other hand, and it's like, and then your captain's trying to talk to you, and it's like, and who am I? And then your flight attendant calls you, and you're like, what am I supposed to do? So then you just start picking and choosing selective hearing in a sense. You really get good at it. And VATSIM, I feel like, helped keep that skill of being able to communicate alive and practiced, instead of just going in jargon and being like, okay, what's going on?
Right.
And like the story is being in the bathroom while your captain's flying by himself in the front. But other than that, and EFS as well, 2 years that I had there, it helped tremendously, just going from flying 172 Seminole Archer to flying a jet and understanding like the speeds. It does not like slowing down, and using the cheater boards, you can only use them so much before the plane still speeds up with them fully out. So it's
happens every flight for me. We're coming in hot, boys.
There have been times where it's like, in the CRJ, that thing, when it's light, it does not slow down.
Oh, really?
And when it's, you got to make a crossing restriction at, let's say they give you like a last minute from 15 to 7,000 foot descent, and you're going through 10, so you got to go below 250, and then they're like, you got maybe 20, 30 miles to do that, and you're just hauling, trying everything, pulling all the tricks out of the bag. But it helps definitely, like, and as Phil said, private, unless you're doing it proactively to achieve a certain skill set or a habit, you're just messing around, and it's probably going to be more deconstructive than constructive.
I could see that, man. It's I think, you know, at the end of the day, I think it at least provides a level of additional situational awareness and an understanding of what the expectations are when you actually go out there, and what the system looks like. But again, it's bringing all those pieces together, and we're at a time now in the flight sim industry where you've got it all. Like, you know, you've got moving maps, you've got charts, you've got air traffic control, you've got really really well simulated aircrafts, both from the general aviation and even the airline or jet sense, where it's like for like. Now, again, that flying by the seat of your pants feeling you'll never really be able to recreate, but I mean, just muscle memory, understanding flows. It's like taking chair flying to the next level. And again, so long as you're applying it correctly, I think it's hugely beneficial.
Yeah, you know, I definitely recommend, you know, especially like on VATSIM, you'll see the occasional person who'll cop on and they're like, yeah, we've been cleared for this departure. They get up and then you just hear the controller, where are you going? What are you doing?
I want to go yesterday.
And you're just like, come on, bro, just take 2 minutes, watch how to read a chart video. You know, it was like, well, the chart just says to go here, and I was like, dude, you got to look at the little messages down there. It's going to tell you. You get up, you make that turn, or you go here, and you know, you're like, he's like, why are you making a right turn when you're supposed to be making a left? Oh, it says to go direct here. It says make a left turn and expect vectors to there. What are you doing, bro? And you're just like, come on.
That departure out of LAX gets folks all the time. Which one is that? I think the ones off the North Complex, and they just immediately start to turn, and then you're conflicting with the South departures, and you're like, oh my gosh, no.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. But again, right, learning those lessons in the sim
Yeah.
is a lot better than going out there and doing it
Absolutely.
in the real world, because there's far greater consequences. So
Yeah, you're not going to get a pilot deviation on VATSIM.
exactly, exactly. At
You
best, a
might on
stern
Pilot
talking
Edge
to.
though. They
Yep.
might tell you to call the number.
Co-pilot
I
may
know.
tell you to call a number. I got a number for you to copy. Let me know when you're ready.
That's funny. That's
I'm
funny.
pulling your subscription, bro. You're done.
You know what though? I always tell people, I said, for a brief time when I had the time, I tried the virtual Air Force, and bro,
Okay.
I did not know the SSOs, the special operations part of that sim. They take that stuff really seriously. Like I did it when I was
I
like,
had no idea.
yeah, I did it when I first finished my commercial, and I was flying the C-17, and I tell you, dude, like stuff I wasn't doing in real life, like intercepting radials at DMEs, and doing DME arcs, and I'm like, shit, I can't remember the last time I even looked at a DME arc, like yeah, it's pretty nuts,
man. I didn't even get one of those on the check ride, actually.
Yeah.
Like, they don't even do it anymore. I mean,
you didn't have to do that.
No, we practiced it definitely during.
I remember you practicing.
Oh yeah, we definitely practice it. It's part of the curriculum.
Twist turn, your twist turn, 10 turn.
Oh gosh, man! And again, it was easier with the glass cockpit, but still, man, it's hard to wrap your head around it and visualize it. But yeah, thankfully, nope, it was not on the check rod.
I mean, like even stuff like doing a hold, man. I know so many guys that messed up a hold, and they're like, "How are you messing up a hold?" And it's like, "Bro, we just put it in the FMC, and it just does its thing." I can't remember which one's supposed to be in, bound, out. They're like, "Forget all that stuff. Just put it this way in the FMC, and it does it."
Not to mention, I didn't even learn till after I finished instrument. The ATC doesn't even care how you enter the hole, as long as you're staying on the protected side. Exactly. They don't give a damn. So it's interesting stuff, man. But good to learn nonetheless. Speaking of, like, staying on the topic of flight simming, Phil, you've got time in the PC-12. Have you flown either the Coronado or who is it, Charlie? SWS?
SWS.
Yeah, SWS. Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I own both, bro.
Both. And what are your thoughts?
So the Coronado, the SWS is definitely the better one. It's got definitely more realism, as far as setting numbers and stuff like that, because we're setting torque values and all that stuff in the PC-12 in real life. I found the the Coronado. Coronado flies like all Coronados. Right. It looks great.
Yeah, but
really, the numbers are a little off. It floats. It's one of those weird things, like it floats a little bit more than the typical PC-12. The PC-12 is a fun, nimble plane, but once, just like a Caravan and stuff like that, you get it below a certain torque, that thing drops like a freaking rock, and so it's a pretty heavy plane to maneuver for its size,
Right.
But it's super torquey. You got to be careful on the torque. I find the Coronado, you can almost abuse it way more than you can a real PC-12, and it doesn't really penalize you in any way. The only issue I had with the SWS versus the Coronado is, I've got a bunch of controls, right? I've got a little MCP, I've got a little several yokes and stuff like that. And if you're doing Spadnex, which if you've never messed with Spadnex, it's the way to go. It really is. It just makes it so beautiful.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It makes life so much easier. Well, I wouldn't say easier. It makes it so much more connective if you're going to start doing that stuff.
Connected experience.
Yeah. I'm literally about 2 seconds from finally pulling the trigger and starting to build my home cockpit.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
And Spadnex helps
literally,
that, man.
Literally off of an auction, I just picked this guy up.
Oh, no way.
Oh, dude, that's
clean.
Sweet.
And so I'm like, I need to start building some stuff. I'm like constantly messing with stuff and creating button boxes and all that good stuff. So I'm like, it's so much nicer to have those physical buttons, because I mostly fly in VR.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Oh, yeah.
That helps.
Yeah.
Is that hard to do? I've been kind of contemplating trying VR, but I didn't know about the controls, and you got the headset, and
as far as controls, it just becomes muscle memory. Like my MCP that I have on there now, there's a certain gap, and there's certain things are where I immediately know if I put my finger on one part, boom, this button's going to be here.
This button's right there. It's the side of it or whatever. Yeah, that makes sense.
But you just can't beat the immersion. The immersion is just so phenomenal. Like my hardest part right now is I really want to build a cockpit and I have the money. It's what cockpit do I want to build?
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
It's like people are like, are you a bus fan? Are you a 7.3 fan? I'm like,
I'm an all fan. I like them all.
All fan. Yeah. Yeah. But it's kind of funny. It's like the PC-12 is always it's a beautiful plane. I've had plenty of guys who retired. Yeah, so many guys who retired from the airlines, they'll fly that plane, and they're like, "Dude, I've just always wanted to fly this plane. It's just a cool little rocket, and it is. It is.
It's fast, man.
I spent like a year or so flying the Legacy, and then I ended up flying the NG. And I joke now, flying the 76, where the 76 is like 80s technology, where I'm like, dude, I miss my freaking touchscreen and you just click on something and boom, all your information comes up and you can just port that over real quick. Now I'm searching for shit and hitting buttons and
digging through menus.
Yeah.
With the green text.
Green text. Well, at least change the color or something. Come on.
Yeah. I'm curious, what are you guys flying over there at Air Wisconsin? You're in the CRJ?
As of now, we're in the 200s. And they're so old the seatbelts start leaving stains on your shirt type of thing.
Dang!
But there's rumors that they bought a 700 sim, but then that idea fell through, and then they speculated then on the 900s, and now we're gonna speculate on the idea of getting 170s, 175s.
Yeah, I figured all the regionals were flying those guys now. The 170, 175s.
It seems like there's a shift for sure.
It is for sure a shift. My LCA, he told me that airplane when it came out was called the 180 because it would always pull the 180 after it left the gate because there would be something that happened with it. And to back that up, on 2 of the 3 times I've jump seated on one, trying to deadhead somewhere.
Yeah,
they
had to turn around.
Yep, it was either
Mike, you had an experience the last time you was on one of them, wasn't it? That wasn't a 200 though, was it?
No, it was a 175 though, wasn't it? I don't know. American Eagle, one of those, man. That was both going. Both
no, it was a CRJ.
CRJ.
Houston.
Oh, I think you're right. Oh yeah. And then one time I was going to Phoenix, and they had a APU issue, and one of the packs had a failure. Yeah, it's time to retire those things, man.
They got some cycles on them for sure.
Yeah, I joked with.
Go
ahead. I was gonna say I joked with a buddy of mine. I was like, dude, we flew from freaking Sacramento to CVG to Cincinnati to Atlanta back to Cincinnati, and then they put me on a flight back to LA, and I was like, ugh, what a long ass day. And I'm like, bro, I just spent, like 12 hours working, and now I got to commute from Cincinnati to Detroit to catch a flight from Detroit to LA, and the first flight's on a CRJ. And I'm like, ugh, what are these people thinking?
Yeah, I was going to say, because you mentioned cycles, our mechanic once told us that the oldest one has somewhere around 44 to 50,000 cycles on it.
Oh, wow.
And it's still chugging along. But
wow.
That's over crazy. The past like 20, 25 years, it comes out about 6 to 10 flights a day type of thing.
Yeah. Jeez. Those things are workhorses, man. They got their money's worth, that's for sure.
And some.
Yeah.
Interesting. What are you flying? Are you you fly 2020 or X-Plane at all, Fabian?
Yeah, I mostly do 2020. I mostly do 2020 now. I used to be a big X-Plane junkie, but for some reason, I can't get X-Plane 12 to run right on my computer.
See, Charlie, I told you, man. It's weird.
See, I'm opposite.
He's the opposite.
I actually just wiped my whole system down a couple of weeks ago because I could not, and switch to the Steam 2020 version.
Oh wow. Yeah, I got X-Plane 12 when it first came out. I was excited about it. Most of my planes were on X-Plane, but for some reason I just get the stability just isn't there. I got rid of all my scenery and I'm still getting like random crashes and
That is crazy. I've never had a crash.
Yeah.
And I'm running like auto ortho. I've got some auto traffic injector thing, and I've never had an issue in pretty much max settings.
I've had
maybe one or two.
It just, whenever even the outside PMDG version, I would fly anything like in there, like a 320 or just a PC or 172, it would just crash. Not like
2020?
Yeah, 2020, and it was
really?
out of Steam. Not in Steam.
Oh, okay.
But it would just crash, and then I would turn it all off, try to get it back and up. It would do some update, and then it would just, without even getting through the loading screen, it would just crash.
CTD. Yep, that's exactly what happened to me.
Charlie? Oh, that's so weird, man.
Or mine would crash loading the aircraft in at the airport.
Or sometimes I would get it to the point where it was like on the runway. I go to put power, and
oh gosh, man, I would hate that. Spending 20 minutes setting the freaking plane up.
What was the other one for me? Oh, it's always about halfway through your descent. Oh, you're literally halfway through the star. Boom, it's over.
It's gotta be. It's pulling data to load scenery or something that's causing it, man. That's weird.
But not. I haven't had that issue in a while
since you got the Steam version.
But what's weird now is there's always quirks. It's so funny. Even though your Steam Windows Store version, now every time the sim loads up, it loads up in Windows mode. So I have to go in every single
I have that issue too.
And go to full screen.
I've had that issue too. I mean, it's all quirky. Like I used to love the what was it? The Phoenix A320. But ever since I updated to the new Block 2 of version 2, it's broken the entire plane for me.
Really?
Really?
Yeah.
Did you uninstall it completely?
I did. Something's conflicting because I changed my community folder and just ran it, and it ran just fine. But when I put back all my old planes and scenery, I get a weird thing where like it'll work off the default scenery, but the freaking Phoenix program won't load. I'll have to load it myself.
Oh, the default livery.
Yeah,
you probably have a livery conflict in there.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out. I've reinstalled
Did you get rid
everything.
Of all the old liveries and still?
Oh yeah,
that's strange.
Yeah, I still get some issue where it just does not want to work right. Yeah, and then because I run a bunch of plugins too. I run FS Realistic. I run Navigraph. I run
FSUIPC.
FSUIPC.
That's the one I've had issues with.
SPAD.
Yeah. Like I love the PMD's Copilot. I used it all the time on X-Plane. I thought the Copilot was the best. I can't use the Copilot. I tried the Copilot and just randomly, if I give it like 3 or 4 commands, it'll just crash the whole sim. So I stopped using it. Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Strange. That's super strange.
Yeah. But I'm super excited for the 777, man. We just don't have enough fun heavies.
As much as I love PMDG, I'm excited for
I was dumb enough. I'm still dumb enough. I went and I paid for the freaking TFDI and the 11, and I'm still like, when is this bloody plane coming out? I'm waiting for my copy, and I'm like, I paid for it. It was like what, like $80 or something. I'm like, why is this plane not out yet?
Well, the reason that is they had an issue on the back end. It was a Sobo's issue, and this latest update was supposed to fix it. I've got the collector's edition. It flies pretty good so far, but I mean, like there's still quirks to it. Like you go to external view and there's no plane or no wings. Like they've still got issues, but that was on a Sobo from what I've been following in the Discord. So hopefully that'll get resolved because man, that thing was supposed to have been out for everybody.
Yeah,
it's been a while.
I'm just tired of I still fly it, but I'm tired of my Captain Scams 777. You know, I wanted to love it. It looks so good, but it just flies like garbage, and I'm just like, why am I forced to still fly this crap plane?
I picked up that 717. I hadn't seen it yet.
Oh, really?
You know what?
I can't figure out how to crank the dang thing. I guess you got to control it.
You know what it is for some stupid reason, I don't know what they're doing. Every time they fix something, they break that plane. Like when it first came out, the autopilot didn't work right. It would literally just randomly turn off course. Then they updated it. The APU won't turn on. And so every update, I keep hearing people are like, dude, either the autopilot or the APU is broken. And so what I figured out is I had to map the hold APU button. So I literally have to push and hold the APU button and then try to start it up. Yeah. Then they had an issue.
Wow.
Yeah. They had a weird issue recently where you couldn't start it up at all. And to find out that through some weird quirk, you have to select the fuel page and that turns on the fuel pumps.
That's just if you had it on coding, man.
Yeah, if you had it on any other page and turned on the fuel pumps,
it wouldn't start
it up. It would not turn on. But then if you clicked on the fuel page, it automatically turned on the fuel pumps, and you're just like, dude, they're in like they've had like 7 or 8 updates, and this plane is still broken. And I hate it because I actually love the 717.
That's one of my favorite planes. Yeah, that is like one of my. That was the first plane I ever flew.
I remember. I love that thing.
I do. Yeah. I love
it's such
old air train
cool
planes.
It's a cool plane. It's a very cool plane. I literally joined Virtual Delta just to fly that thing.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, we need some good heavies. Right now, if I had to have a go-to plane, surprisingly enough, I like the A321 with the the mod for the
Horizon Air.
The Horizon mod,
Horizon mod kind of, with the oh my gosh, the scenery dudes that are making Airbuses all of a sudden.
Latin VFR. Yeah, the Latin VFR with the Horizon mod. It's kind of been my go-to because
it's solid, man.
Yeah, it's a good medium haul plane. I could take it to Honolulu. I could take it to New York. It's really good. I've done the 7.3 until we get a max. I've done a couple of the 738 flights from like Oakland to Honolulu. It's always right there. It's always right there. You land in with like barely 20 minutes of fuel, and you're just like, we need a max.
Yeah. The whole max situation in 2020 is going to be interesting.
Yeah,
because PMDG's
said one as well.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
they're working on it. And then you got iFly.
iFly. Who do you think? That's a stupid question because we know who's going to come out first. Which
PMDG will be out first. Wait and see.
Oh really?
Really?
I think so.
I'd be shocked.
According to the last doctorate I read.
The last the last dissertation.
Yeah.
No, I think Phil, you're right, man. That 777, I'm looking forward to. I've been complaining about this for years now. There are no solid heavies in 2020. The A300 is pretty cool.
The A300,
I think they've done a well enough job, but that 777 is going to take it to the next level.
Yeah,
I think my only issue with the A300 is I'm too much of a realist, and you just don't have a bunch of companies flying A330 900s. This is where I'm like, I need the classic A330.
That's a good point. Try to mess with it. Fabian, what were you saying you were flying in? You said the 7.3.
The 7.3. It's the NG or the 800, one of those.
Okay,
but yeah, I do the virtual Southwest airline.
Oh, cool.
And now I've been on reserve so much I got the termination warning. It's like you haven't completed a flight.
I straight up got terminated from virtual Southwest. They said we don't want your kind here no more. But you can reapply.
After a 30-day period.
What's funny is like I said, flying for this company now, finally getting away from the 135, 8 legs a day is, they had like a whole thing of, they were really trying to get a lot of people through the door. So now we're at the other end where they have a lot of young new pilots, and I've got so much downtime, like crazy downtime. Like this month's bid, I literally have like 3 weeks off and 1 week of hot reserve in San Bernardino. Like, I was like, how did I even end up with that? And they were like, oh, well, originally you were awarded 1 week on, 1 week off of reserve. And I was like, yeah, that's what I bidded for. Right. And they were like, well, due to overstaffing, we decided to just give you earned time off for that first week. So I'm like, I've got so much time on my hands. It's weird. Like, I've been doing so much simming. So much
That's
simming.
awesome, man.
Like, I run the spectrum, man. I'm in virtual Southwest, virtual United, Japan Airline virtual. I'm in Delta virtual. I still do freaking what is it? FS Economy.
Oh,
I own a
man, I heard that. Wow.
Yeah, I rock I just bought a Phenom 100 that I've been rocking in FS Economy. It just gives me an opportunity to fly because I don't really do GA anymore.
Right,
and so it gives me a reason to fly a little bit of GA, which is fun, even though I'm still flying the jet.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
On the other hand, I've been ready reserve this whole month, and I've
I've had buddies like
4:30 to 12:30. That's why I rushed down and that's why after this time I was like, I got off at 12:30, and it's a hour 45-minute drive down to here where we're staying, watching a dog. Obviously this isn't my home now, but
where you based out of?
What's up?
Where you based out of?
Milwaukee. So nice. I'm 5 minutes from O'Hare. I did the commute this morning in Milwaukee, and then next month I have short call, which is at least I can be home type of thing. And then
short call is so for people that are going to view this, walk us through, both of you guys, I guess, what you said, hot reserve and what short call means, right? Because folks that are going to enter this world professionally, especially with the airliners, that's generally how you're going to start. So walk us through what hot reserve means and then what short call means.
So I don't know if hot call for you is basically like ready reserve for us. It's the same thing, but it's like ready reserve. You got to be at the airport in uniform, waiting for a phone call that basically never comes.
Oh, no way.
So like you just chill at the airport.
Yeah, we have a pilot ready room, and there was a captain there today that he had the same block I did, and then I was that FO on call, and we were sleeping for maybe 4 or 5 out of the 8 hours that we were there.
So you've got to get to the airport in uniform and wait there for 8 hours for a call that sometimes just never comes.
Yep. Like I didn't get a single call today, and I was just sitting. I got there at 4:20, got to the crew room at 4:30, and I was like, I'm not gonna get called. So got the blanket out, hit the recliner, and slept until maybe 8, 9. Went and got breakfast, then did some little planning for a thing that's happening in September, a little wedding type thing.
Oh, wait a minute.
What?
But hold on, man. You dropping a bomb on us? Are you getting married in September?
Yes.
Don't do it.
Oh,
don't do it, bro. Don't do it.
Still got time.
You still got time.
Oh my gosh, man. Don't try to
I got a little bit of that going, and then watched a little bit of YouTube, and then it was 12:25. Started walking out, and then by the time I got out of security, it was 12:30, and I was like, all right, on my way to my car, and drove down here. The short call is a minimum of a 2-hour call out. So you have to be within 2 hours from when they call you, which most of the time they give you like 3-4 hours, because that's when they find out that somebody's sick or somebody can't make it or whatever. Somebody times out.
Gotcha.
But then there's another thing called long call, and that's 48 hours out.
So you've got to be within 48 hours. So you can probably go away somewhere and
you could be on vacation. Call you and say, all right, I'll be there in 2 days.
2 days. Yeah, got it.
But starting in May, I don't have to commute to Milwaukee anymore because I got O'Hare reserve. So I'll be 5 minutes from an airport instead of
that's awesome.
40.
Oh, that's huge.
That's big.
That's awesome. Cool. And then Phil, that's essentially the same sort of categories for you guys?
Kind of. For us, we're way cushier. Like I said, this company's not a legacy, but they're still they're still a main line. So for us, we have several types of reserve. So we have open reserve, hard reserve, and then we've got hot reserve.
Okay.
Right. So open reserve, basically, they all mean you don't have a schedule, but open reserve, they can just call you whenever. It's the worst. Everybody hates open reserve. But normally with open reserve, they'll give you like 24 hours before they'll call you, and it'll typically be the next day you got an assignment.
Okay.
Hard reserve, you have bid for it, and basically you have set days and set times that you said you can call me, but you're still open for schedule.
Got it.
Then we have hot reserve. So for us, again, we're pretty cushy. Hot reserve, they put you in a hotel. You pre-trip the plane at the beginning of your shift, your 8-hour shift, and then you just wait at the hotel, and you have to be within the plane. You have to be back at the plane within 2 hours if they call you. And so,
and if they don't, you just stay at the hotel.
Yeah, you just stay at the hotel. So you'll get it like a weekend. You'll get like a week of hot reserve where you're just there for a week, and every morning you go pre-trip the plane and they wait. It's kind of weird because our big contractor is Amazon. Amazon always wants a plane ready. Right?
Yeah. Well, they got
so
the money to do so.
Exactly. So they fuel up the plane, they tanker it up, and they're just like, hey, be ready. But the great thing about our hot reserve is when you have your bid of hot reserve, that is your bid for the week. So even if you go do a flight, they have to put you on a plane to go back to be hot reserve at that base.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So like we only have like a couple hot reserves. Like we have like San Bernardino, Cincinnati, Lakeland, Florida, Baltimore, and I think, in Alliance, Fort Worth. So these bases are like big Amazon hubs.
Yep.
And so basically most of those flights, they all have like small connecting flights. So you might go from like San Bernardino to Seattle and then just fly right back to San Bernardino. Like that's typically what your flights are going to be. Or you might go to Denver and back, or, Dallas and back. So it's pretty chill.
2-hour hops.
But yeah. Otherwise, it's pretty chill. You'll definitely have a lot of time off. For us, they tell you can do 16 on, 12 off is typically how the bids go. But they have a bunch of runs where they'll split it up. Like I typically bid for like reserve, where I have like a week on, week off, week on, week off type deal. Yeah.
That's probably the most. Me personally, I'd like that. Probably the most flexible. It strikes the balance between work and actually having some downtime to get to do stuff.
But we do have a couple golden bids. Getting a bid is what you want. Yeah. So you can bid for a line, which basically means where you're flying, when you're flying, stuff like that. It takes a minute. But they have a couple golden bids, which are bids that everybody wants to get. So we don't do a lot of international flying, but we do some. So we have a flight from Honolulu to Chitose in northern Japan. And then you sit in Japan for like a week, and then you fly back from Japan to Hawaii.
A week? Wow.
Yeah. And then they put you on a first class seat from Hawaii back to your home, right? So that's one golden one. The next one is you pick up the second part of that. Yeah. The second one is you pick up the second part of that. So you go from Hawaii to Singapore. You spend 2 days in Singapore to Diego Garcia, which is in the South Indian Ocean. And then you sit there for like 6 days and then you fly back. That's like one of our military contracts. We also have one that goes from, we have what's called the Flower Run. And so we literally have a container ship. We have an entire plane full of flowers that goes from Florida down to, what was the name of that place? It's MROC, which is, is it Colombia? You go down to Bogota.
Oh, Bogota. Okay.
Yeah. So you fly down to Bogota, they fill up the plane, takes about 3 days, and then you fly back to Florida, and it's filled with nothing but flowers. And so they call it the Flower Run.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But it smells good.
Yeah.
Oh, I know, right?
Hey, it's covering up the smell of my jet fuel now.
Yeah. So those are all golden runs. So you get extra pay. You're away from home for, like a week or two, but you're basically, you literally have like an entire month where you probably fly maybe like 6 hours the entire month.
That's
cargo, man.
I told you, Mike, and freight dog, that's where it's at, bro.
I know, man. I know. So I keep hearing.
I mean, you could be at like Atlas or one of those guys and sleeping half of the time on your flight from LA to Hong Kong or something.
Yeah.
My DPE, who I did my private and my instrument with, he's with UPS, and man, he's got it good, man. He's he even said he prefers hauling boxes versus hauling people.
Yeah.
The flexibility and the schedule that he has. I mean, he's literally a full-time DPE and working right, flying several times a month. So it provides good flexibility, and it provides the ability for you to do other things with your life. If you want to go pursue a additional hobby or an additional revenue stream or whatever it is. So I certainly see the allure.
Yeah, well, most of these companies, it's all about seniority. I once jump seated on a flight from Honolulu back to LA with a 777 captain whose run was literally every Friday and Saturday. He flew to Honolulu, spent 28 hours in Honolulu, and then flew back to LA. And he would do that for 3 weeks. That's all he did. Saturday, flew out, flew back awesome. Sunday, and then he was off for the week. And I was like, Jesus Christ. I was like, that's like some... I couldn't even imagine that kind of schedule.
Man, that's unreal.
That is unreal. That's awesome. And again, to Hawaii, like that's that's huge.
Yeah. United, they put them up in a freaking 5-star hotel by the beach. They live it up. They live it up.
I have seen that. Now, so you mentioned, your schedule, at least these days, are it's a little bit more conducive to flexibility and work-life balance because of overstaffing. Yet we continue to hear this pilot shortage. It's like you guys being in the actual industry and working professionally now, are you guys still seeing it that way, from instead of the outside looking in, the inside looking out? Is there truly a pilot shortage going on? Now, obviously, you have the lens from your perspective or your respective organizations, but like, again, being in it now, do you guys see an actual pilot shortage?
It's like, I can see you saying, yeah, but it's like, for me, it's like Air Wisconsin stopped hiring FOs for their notice, and same with like Southwest and
many of them recently.
But I feel like part of the point that needs to be made, it's not just pilot shortage, it's what kind of pilots. Captains.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of captains, but there's a lot of FOs, and especially for the regional guys, all those FOs don't upgrade. They just jump ship and go to a legacy or a low cost. That's when they're hemorrhaging. That
creates the shortage. Gotcha.
And then they have an influx of FOs. So when I was looking at just seniority base, there's maybe 3-to-1 ratio between FO to captain. And it's like most of these captains are overworked, picking up shifts and open time and junior man, which junior man is basically, they could call you on an off day, offer you 200% pay on that one trip, and then you get to point to any other trip 30 days prior, 30 days after, and they 3 times the pay on that of your choice. Because they're making you come on a day off. But that's captain life. It's not a lot of them. So that's where pilot shortage is.
That's an interesting. You don't hear that. That's
you don't hear that, but that makes complete sense.
That makes a lot more sense. Because it's like, oh, we're not hiring, or they've paused the FO classes and hiring a first officer, or we're hearing layoffs,
unfortunately.
But then you're hearing, oh, but there's a pilot shortage. It's like the math isn't math, man. What?
I mean, I was gonna say, just like he said, just like I have a couple buddy of mine who literally, I know at least 2 or 3 people who, as soon as they finished their training here, went to a major. Like, it was that crazy. Like, I know at least I have one of my buddies who just literally, as soon as he finished his type ride, got a job at Southwest. You know, I got another one who literally was here for probably like, he finished IOE and went to United. Like, that's how crazy it was.
But you don't have to pay back the cost of the
not here.
type rating?
Not here.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
how does that benefit the airline?
But not here.
Interesting.
You know, it's kind of funny because it's really just they want to be this family. You know, a lot, like literally. I think what's funny is I told my friends from the get-go, once I hit the line, every captain I flew with, like within the first 10 minutes, everyone's like, "It's a good place. You should stay." And I'm like, I didn't say I was going to leave. And I was like, I know, just saying. I see a lot of you kids coming in and out real quick. And I'm like, I know, I get it. You know, it's like, it happens. But I was on a flight back home from Denver, and I met this young United first officer. And he was like, he's on the 7-3 and he's getting ready to transition over, I think, to like, I think the 7-5 or 7-6 or something like that, like I fly. And one of the things I was talking about is I told him, I said, you know, my plan was to get my 1,000 hours on the heavy and then consider going over to another company as a captain versus staying as a captain, mainly because the pay was so much better at certain places. And I was like, I applied to United, but, you know, I've been hearing, you know, United's been freezing a lot of their stuff and a lot of their applications have been taking a long time. And he was like, yeah, but once you get in, he was like, if you've got that 1,000 hours on that heavy, he was like, you could make captain within just probably less than a year. And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah. He was like, a lot of the junior FOs are trying to get on the heavies. He's like, if you want to be a 7-3 captain at friggin' United, he was like, they'll probably make you fly that plane for a few months and then just give you the option to upgrade. He was like, we just do not have, like Fabian was saying, we just don't have enough captains. You know, all the young guys who are ready to make captain, they don't want to be 7-3 captains. They want to be 777 captains. You know?
Yeah. The pay and the work-life balance, I'd imagine, is better. Yeah.
Yeah. But what's funny is I asked him, I was like, so what's your average 7-3 captain making over there? And he's like, dude, our average 7-3 captain's making like 320 to 370 grand a year. And I was like, Jesus.
Whoa.
Mike, that'd make you a Boeing fan, wouldn't it?
Hey, Airbus who?
Johnny, when I need it. We got the way to get Mike off the Airbus now.
Oh my gosh, that's huge, man. And then probably flying what, 15 days a month?
Yeah, but everything's cutthroat.
Of course,
everything's cutthroat right now. You know, like literally, as soon as I posted, I finished my freaking type rating on the 7.6. Like I got like 3 emails from other companies. You know, I got a recruiter from
really.
Yeah. Hey, would you be interested in coming over to Atlas? Or hey, have you applied to, you know, this spot? Even my buddy, he's over there at Spirit, which God knows why anybody goes to Spirit.
Oh, but man. we got a resident Spirit captain of the show right now. Hey Charlie, you got it.
Spurt.
Oh, Spurt was what we call it.
Spurt. But yeah, literally as soon as I finished my type rating, he was like, "Hey, bro," he goes, my freaking hiring manager literally said, if you know anybody who's at that company, you guys are going to be fighting over your contract for a minute. Tell them to come over here immediately, and I can guarantee him a job. And I'm like, I haven't been at this company for more than I've been on the line for more than 3-4 months, and these dudes are always already trying to scalp you. Yeah, like it's crazy.
It's almost yeah. No, go ahead.
Yeah, like Fabian said, they want that. They want those captains. You know, I've even heard people joke about, and I even joked about it, where I'm like, dude, once I make captain here, I'll probably just leave and go to PSA, take that 300,000 and fly regionals for a little bit.
Oh my God.
They really make it easy to get in. But I remember not to diss on SkyWest, but to diss on SkyWest. They put me through a almost 2.5-3 hour interview where they butcher you to pieces about everything. Part 121 operations, ATM, what's it called, alternate minimums. And it's like, I haven't touched a jet and you want me to know all this already? Whereas maybe I had a friend who just right before all that started, his interview was 20, 30 minutes. And it was like, what's a carburetor? How does a work? Okay, you got a job. Congrats.
Wow.
And for us, it was maybe I sent out an email. 3 weeks later, I got an email back. Then I respond within a few minutes. Another 3 weeks for an email. And then, okay, you got an interview. Okay, it's not until like next month type of interview. So then you do the interview, which excruciating pain afterwards. And it's like, you didn't get it because everyone's getting denied. Then you wait a few weeks and then you get the denial, the thanks but no thanks. And then that's why I reached out to Wisconsin, because I had a friend out there and he said it's pretty good. Within the same day, I got an interview for the next week. I was like, okay.
Wow.
And then half an hour, 40-minute interview and CGO right after, drug test, all that.
Yeah.
And I was like, they're cutting to the, you had your class date right as you walked out of the interview.
No way.
Whereas SkyWest, they made you wait. So I've been trying to tell a lot of people, if you're not trying to stay at a regional forever, like, and that's where the mentality comes. Who wants to stay at a regional forever type of thing?
Right.
It's not your end goal. It's not the heavy. It's not your 777. It's not your working 3 days out of a month schedule.
Yeah.
But it is what it is.
I will warn people though. We've had one of the things I have seen at this airline, and I've heard from a couple other spots, is those guys who are jumping straight to a lot of these majors, or even if they're, I don't know what you call them, junior majors, low cost majors. They've been really strict. Like I've heard a lot of guys were failing out of Spirit.
Really?
They were coming in young. I met a couple guys. I heard a couple guys, literally finished IOE at a regional, went to Spirit, and then failed at Spirit. And so, like at my company, we had it was crazy. And I heard the number and I couldn't believe it, where it was almost a 30 to 40% failure rate. So not only were they failing guys, they were kicking people out. Like they were being very unrelenting. Like where it was like, they might give you 1 or 2 extra sims, they might give you a little extra time if they feel like you're falling behind. Where we had a good handful in my class where they were just like, you're not going to make it through the sim. And they just recommended they resign.
Whoa.
Yeah. Like they were hiring a ton, but they were very stiff on their requirements. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. So that's the one thing I would tell people to be careful. Or, it might seem, but they say if it's too good to be true, it probably is to be good.
Probably is.
True. Yeah.
I had a friend of mine from INDOC and systems training. He got all the way through the check ride, and in the check ride, he messed up one small thing. The APD is basically like a DP, but in the airline, he just said, "Stop, we're done here." Didn't finish the check ride, and he got a call. They sent him home and told him wait for a phone call, and it was told it's going to be a rescheduling for more additional training. He got a phone call from the director of flight training saying you got till tomorrow to resign or you'll be terminated.
What?
And they're you're saying, they're very, very selective. When they got an influx, they don't want much more than they need.
Yeah.
Why pay somebody else to sit around 75 hours monthly minimum?
That's right.
Nothing.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Man, see, these are the things that
the things you don't hear
you don't hear all the time, and it's like that's why we wanted to have you guys on and just highlight some of this stuff for the audience and for those that are out there and looking to pursue this for themselves. I got sort of one last topic for you guys as we sunset this here. Great conversations, by the way. This has been awesome. Too bad on Johnny for missing it. No, let me stop bragging on him. So what for those and you hear some of these stories and you hear some of the challenges that you guys just alluded to or highlighted for those that have met some of those roadblocks or have gone through these hurdles and it doesn't feel like they're getting to where they want to go and to actually realize that dream of not just flying professionally, because you can get your foot in the door and fly professionally, but getting to that ultimate goal of, to your all's point, a wide body for a legacy, or even if it's staying at the regionals, but really being able to enjoy life both financially, both work-life balance wise, and be able to actually truly enjoy their job. And it doesn't feel like they're getting there, just keep hitting one barrier after another. What would you guys recommend to some of those folks?
Well, I guess if I had to, I'll start off there. If I have this, well, I guess the first thing I would say is, don't get married.
You'll have to come back to
ruin your life, man. That'll ruin your life. I'm just kidding.
It's all right, Fabian. They tried to scare me off too, man. And I'm still going strong. So don't worry about it. Oh man, that's awesome.
Man. It's like I always tell people, they're like, when am I gonna get married? When am I gonna have kids? And I'm like, dude, I'm saving up for my Porsche.
That's right.
Fabian squared, flying 5 days a month, wide bodies, overseas, and all the other days of the month in his two-seater Porsche.
Yeah, exactly. It's rough, man. It's a rough life. Someone's got to live it.
Rough life. Someone's got to do it.
Yeah. Well, back to your question. I was actually thinking about this. Is one of the great things I always tell people about this gig, or about being a pilot, or trying to get into a lot of these companies. Unless you got to stay on it, because a lot of times it's an ebb and flow. I knew a lot of guys who applied for companies, and they're just like, everybody's getting in, and then as soon as they apply, they're like, bro, I didn't get in. What the hell? And you're like, yeah, you just met that cutoff in which they were trying to get 1,000 people through the door, and you just happen to be 1,001. But one of the great things about this gig is, a lot of it's just time. When I first started off and I was working at the 135, I seriously had people calling me like almost a year after I applied, and we're like, hey, are you still interested? We're looking for people to come into classes at the beginning of the year. And I'm like, I don't even remember applying for you, like, so
who are you?
Yeah. So
that, man.
It's always an ebb and flow. Even when they're like, yeah, it's a shortage, you're still going to have those times in which, they're trying to get all those captains out. That's actually how I ended up at this company. I was at Sky West. I went through INDOC, I went through class, and they were like, after INDOC, for your ground and for your sims, we're breaking you guys up. Some of you guys are going to start immediately. Some of you guys are going to start in 3 months. And then the next thing you know, I got a call, and they're like, oh, they're backed up in captain upgrades, so you're going to be sitting at home for 6 months.
Oh, wow.
And literally, while I was sitting at home, these guys called and were like, we can start you in a class here in like a month or so. And I'm like, I'll do it. I'd rather fly the 7.6 than a freaking 145 or 175 anyway. And so it was just literally like it's a small community, and a lot of people talk, and they're just like, dude, these guys are hiring like right now. You should apply. And that's literally how it went down. And so there were definitely times in which, I applied, and it was like, dude, I applied like 6 months ago. No, haven't even gotten a no thanks letter, Then just out of the blue, I'll get a, hey, do this assessment. And you're just like, wait, am I still in the running? And I'm like, yeah. It was like, yeah, they're not hiring for months. Like I was watching the news just the other day, and they're talking about how United is, because of the new FAA oversight, United is stopping a bunch of their new captain classes while they're being like inspected by the FAA and going through all their training and stuff like that. So right there, that's going to tell you that everything's going to be pushed back even longer if that's your goal. I've met plenty of people. It's one of those funny things where everyone's like, yeah, you can get into a legacy. And I'm like, you know what? I don't think I've met anybody who I've flown with who's in a legacy right now. They're all at low-cost carriers or, flying cargo, and they're just like, yeah, it's an ebb and flow. They'll get there eventually, So, yeah, there were definitely times I was plotting away at the 135, and I was just like, brah, I got my hours. I've thrown out applications. It's just not going. Did I just get the wrong type of hours? Am I just not, Again, there are companies out there. There are definitely companies out there where I've heard where it's like you're trying to go to Hawaiian, where if you're not working at the right place, Hawaiian's not going to hire you. They want certain types of experience. Otherwise, they're not even going to waste their time looking at you. And so you just don't know, But then you turn around And I remember once I was like, I really wanted to go to Horizon. And I applied to Horizon like 3 times, never heard back. So I didn't know if not hearing back was meant I didn't get the job or they were waiting. And then literally like a couple months afterwards, I got an email from a Horizon recruiter who was like, hey, we saw you applied for Horizon multiple times. You've got the hours. You should apply directly to Alaskan. Like that was their response. And then all of a sudden, now they're trying to fill up Horizon again. You know, like it's it's all over the place, but it's still there. You know, I tell people, I say, you just stay current and, you know, obviously stay out of trouble. And it's not a matter of, you know, if it's really is just a matter of when, you know.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
No, that's superb and very sound advice. Makes a lot of sense. What about from you, Fabian? What are your thoughts on folks, you know, encountering roadblocks and hurdles? How do you suggest they find ways to continue to move forward?
It's not saying that I've been through a lot. It's speaking from that third lens and overseeing what other people can go through. It's just like flying an airplane at times. It's where you can't just be taking it and something happens and you react. It's more so you got to be thinking 5 steps ahead. Okay, they're not hiring now, but I'm going to get everything ready so I can, when they do start hiring, bam, shoot out the applications so that they're the first on the table type of thing. Or even prior to that, if it's somebody who's into flight simming who wants to go do and get their private or instrument, whatever it may be, that financial roadblock, and some people that's the get all be all, and it's like I can't put up the money and I can't do it. I've had friends who, students as well, who we started going through paperwork and it's like I can't put up with this, and they switched over to maintenance. As long as they're in that aviation field, I still love it type of response to it. But scholarships, grants, like Phil was saying, that's finances are not the easiest, especially in an industry like aviation where everything's so expensive. But the thing to remember is you're going to put a lot of money down, but you're going to get a lot of money back. Like you're saying $300,000, $400,000 a year.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Or even I saw this number throw out somewhere. It was like $575 as a wide body 4th year captain at American.
Really?
It was like, and on a narrow body, it's $475. It's
sheesh.
They're getting up there, and that's what you're going to. So it's
that's
like
the goal.
You have that small burden for the time being, like you got Sally Mae in your living room type of thing. But then once you get her out, and when you're actually making the money, it's more so of you're just enjoying life. I've met at the airport somebody, he was like, yeah, I was drowning in debt, but now he's a FO at American and he's living life. He said he's halfway to being a millionaire now, and he's only been at American for about 2-3 years. And
wow.
It builds up really quickly. So it's just never stop. And like, I feel like I said this before in the previous podcast, is like, just keep going after your dream. You're there for a reason. And there's obstacles put in your way for a reason to separate the people who are determined to go through and achieve what their goals are set to be, and those who, for some, it's like finances, you can't beat that. But for some, it's that mental barrier of maybe it's not for me, or that resignation that kicks in type of thing.
If it was easy, everyone would do it, man. And that's everything in life. You can apply that really to everything in life. And I mean, that's just not to put Charlie on the spot here, man, but I know what he does for a living day in and day out. And I could physically or mentally, I don't know if I could do that. So if it was easy, everyone would do it. And you can apply that to anything in life. So, you know, huge respect for you guys to, you know, continue to push through despite the hurdles and the sacrifices that you've had to make. Because it's the other thing, we talk about the hurdles and we talk about the financial barriers to this, but some of it also comes down to sacrifice. Like, what am I willing to give up in life in the interim, so that way I can get to that and pick it back up later and truly enjoy the fruits of my labor. If you truly enjoy it that much and you want to get there, sometimes it means sacrificing now.
Eating a bag of ramen instead of hitting the club.
Exactly, man. Studying for that check ride, you know, Friday night
eating a Tortino's instead of Papa John's.
Listen, man, those small decisions, like they add up. So definitely huge, man. One last thing, Phil, is that your cello in the back?
Man, I'm glad you said that.
Double bass.
Double bass. I'm a music junkie.
Oh my gosh, this is so weird, man. So you guys both share the Fabian name. Fabian, do you still play the violin, dude?
Violin and cello.
And
the piano.
Small world, man.
Yeah.
And the piano.
Yeah. The place where dogs live, they got a piano back there. So I've been playing it every single chance I get.
Oh man, that is awesome. So we got two musicians with that share the name Fabian, first officers in their airlines. Man, this is freaking
crazy.
That's crazy. Oh man, that's funny. Cool. Too cool.
We should have changed the name to Tale of Two Fabians.
The tale. I might. This isn't uploaded yet.
Hey, that's true, man.
That is a really good point. The Tale of Two Fabians. Look at you, Charlie. I knew you was producer Charlie for a reason.
I've been born at night, son, but it wasn't last night. I do have a question for Fabian, though.
Which
last time you was
which one?
Fabian.
Fabian won.
The last time you were on our show, you were talking about taking a helicopter discovery flight.
Yeah.
Did you do it?
I forgot about that.
I did.
Did you get a certificate?
I have not yet. I'm in the process of saving up for it. That's where it comes to the point where it's like, do one flight, then save, and then you spend 80% of the time relearning it. So I've got a price quote and I'm saving up for it. And before we move out in September, we're trying to get it done over the summer, as well as a glider commercial add-on and a CFI add-on.
Nice.
This guy, man, he's just racking them up. That's awesome. Listen, you
better do it before the wife stops you.
Jeez, Philip. She's
been really supportive. So Natalie, the fiance, she's cat's out of the bag. We've been together for almost 4 years now, and she's been there since I've had my instrument and pushing through commercial and CFI and double I and MEI and just everything. Just that person, that rock that holds you down type of thing.
See, that's huge. That's huge. You know,
having that support system,
that support structure makes a world of a difference versus, meeting someone where you're already in that airline life and the work and the impact on what that means to life. Not a lot of people can deal with or put up with. So
and I asked her
at the beginning certainly helps.
Yeah. I was asking her the other day, I was like, because when I started reserve and I was out of the house a lot, I was like, are you sure you still want to be with me? Like, are you sure you want to do this for the rest of your life? And she's like, I'd rather see you for the 3 days that I see you than spend it with somebody else for the 7. So I was like, that hit.
Man, where's my heart emoji? Where's my heart emoji? We don't have one. Mr. Charlie, you gotta get on that, man. You gotta get a heart emoji.
I don't have access.
We gotta fix that too, man.
We don't kick me off the podcast. Man.
We don't have it all together here at the Close Traffic Podcast. But what else is new? Oh, that's
completely off.
Man, that's awesome.
She's also the one that pushed me to. I've always wanted to have like that multiple stream of income, like getting a business started. So I started the aviation company, and it's obviously using all
called the aviation company.
And no, it's NFB Aviation.
NFB Aviation, man. You should let us know. We'll make sure to put that in the description here. You got a link, a website or something?
Nice.
Yeah. It's
all right, man. Send it over to us.
Sure. So she helped me start that, and I helped her start hers because she's becoming a dietitian. And basically, the center focus part of my business was, well, one, make use of all my certs because I got them for a reason, type of thing.
Right.
Yeah. And then the other part is I'm recently started is going to high schools and getting these students their drone licenses. So far, I've gotten 9 or 10 high school sophomores, juniors, seniors, if they're over 16, certified Part 107, and now they're going out and doing drones and flying videos and
That's
whatnot.
awesome.
Nice.
Huge. Shoot, I never finished mine. I'm a slacker.
Man, never too late.
I ain't got no time, man.
But it's and then the biggest other part was mentoring these kids through there, because myself, and I don't know, Phil, if you have, but just being on your own type of thing through the process and not having anyone there to talk to, it's difficult. It's like you don't know where to go and what to do and what not to do. And having somebody who's been in your shoes is always a great person to go to as, hey, what do I do? How do I study for my private? How do I study for my instrument? So that's the other part of the business, is mentorship with all these students that have passed and reaching out to others who just need a mentor, and it's all free. And it's just like me wanting to be like, hey, if you need help in any way, shape, or form, my phone's always open to you, type of thing. And I connect them. I had one girl, she wants to go do ROTC, so I reached out to an ROTC friend and get them connected. It's like they can hold hands and walk each other. One's already there, and the other will follow shortly behind.
Nice.
Man, that's awesome, bro.
A way to reach back and give back and help. And again, that's part of the reason why we've got you both here, is to, really sit down with us and help spread some awareness to this path that many are trying to lead down and pursue. And again, it isn't easy, but when you've got guidance and support, no matter where it comes from, as long as it's obviously with good intention, it makes a world of a difference. So that's huge. It's awesome stuff.
Good stuff.
Cool. Well, gents, any departing words for the audience here?
The only thing I can think of is if you're like me and you want to step that flight simming up a notch, start working on those peripherals. I mean, like there's button boxes aren't as expensive as people think they are, or even these like MCPs and stuff like that. And it just makes life so much easier when even if you're flying VR, you're flying on the desk. Instead, when I think of how many times it's been a pain in the butt just trying to like mouse wheel something, and when you can just turn a knob, it just throws up that immersion so much more. I love it. Like I said, I'm slowly like, I'm gonna finally start. I'm gonna hire somebody to help me, and we're just going to start building a small cockpit, because it's just so much cooler to have that immersion. I might do the triple screen and stuff like that, just because I have a pretty big little area where this desk is. It goes pretty far back, and I was like, I only use my computer for flight simming. I don't need a whole desk, so I might as well just turn that desk into a small cockpit. Yeah,
nice. That's huge, man. That's huge.
Yeah.
I would say, obviously, the flight sim, the peripherals, I've recently got the honeycomb ones. It's a night-day difference turning a knob or scrolling a mouse wheel. But going on to like a different direction, it's like, take your dreams and just, I'm not saying like, okay, just have a goal and whatnot in mind. Write it down. You'd be surprised. Just like, I have Post-its all over my computer sometimes, and it's just like daily goals that I want to get done that day, or dream goals that I want to get done in life. Just write it down, and your mind, it's weird how it works. It just instinctively wants to do whatever it's on there and cross it off the list. Or whether it's your flight simming, you're on the edge of going getting your private, go do it. Do a discovery flight. Or if you've already done one, see what's the next step to continue in that path. Or if it's, you just want to step up your flight simming, maybe it's try that for once, or try Pilot Edge, try getting a moving map, or just anything that can step up. And there's so many free things out there, pre-programs that you can download. I just recently I struggle with situational awareness in the sim. There's apparently one, I downloaded it. I didn't know about it. It's a program that connects via Wi-Fi to your ForeFlight account, and you can just see yourself on VATSIM on the map, which is similar to Navigraph. But
it's oh my gosh, I use it all the time, especially for Pilot Edge. What the heck is the name of that thing?
It's like FC.
I think MSF Connect or something. I use it as well. I use one as well.
Yeah, and it's just free programs that are out there, and people are willing to give up their hard time and give it back to the community, just using all those to your advantage.
No, it's again, the more you can leverage, both in terms of now, like Johnny says all the time, if the materials and the knowledge base and the networking that we have today was around back when he was getting all of his ratings and going through his professional pilot journey, it'd have been 10 times easier. So that recognition is real, that we're in a time where, you know, it doesn't have to be as difficult for like it was for the aviators of the past. So certainly, you know, reach out, take advantage of that. Do you guys attend any industry conferences at all? Like what is it, like NBAA and some of those other professional pilot conferences?
I mean,
oh, you go.
Okay. No, sorry. I was going to say, as far as like simming goes, I did go to Flight Sim Expo some time ago, but professionally, I do belong to the OBAP, the Organization of Black Aviation Professionals. I do belong to the Red Tails and the Black Pilots Association.
You're Red Tails too? I didn't know that. California Red Tails.
Yeah, just local ALPA, you know, that's about it.
Yep.
Company ALPA.
Cool.
Yeah, I do. I'm trying to go to FS Expo once at least. But
it's in our backyard. This oh, sorry, not you, Fabian. You're in Chicago.
It's in
Vegas. It's in June. Oh, you did San Diego. Okay, so you know,
you get free flight benefits. You can head on down there.
Yeah,
there you go. Exactly.
Yeah, I'm also part of Women in Aviation and CABA and AOPA.
Cool.
Oshkosh every year.
So. Nice. Yep, that's
Mike's gonna fly in there this year.
Nice.
Oh my God, if somebody wants to split the Cirrus cost with me, sure. Oh man, huge, awesome stuff, man. I'll be at Expo this year. Stop by, but looking forward to that. And again, I've got all the names and the groups that you guys all mentioned. I want to put together a repository of this info as we re-upload this podcast and, you know, to YouTube as well as to our other outlets, just to ensure that folks have a wealth of information and some knowledge base that they can, you know, look into and grab from, similar to what you guys have been able to do. So great stuff, man. Charlie, any departing works for the folks?
Man, just keep the blue side up.
Keep the blue side up. That's important, man. We say that all the time.
All the time.
At CTP. Because if you see it the other way around, something's up.
Unless you're
I was gonna say, I'm like, yeah, exactly. All right, man. That's gonna do it for us here at the Closed Traffic Podcast. You know, Phillip, Fabian Square, I should say, the tale of two Fabians. We appreciate you guys for coming on here and providing some really great insights today. That's gonna do it for us. You guys take care, and we'll see you. Peace.